And coming in at number 10, it's Spider-Man No Way Home, which reminds me that was the last time we were
Stephen's flipped,
on.
incidentally.
We were on
the shot.
Just know,
Stephen's
I'm
very
actually,
self-conscious.
I'll tell you something.
I
am actually stalling here because I'm using my MacBook to sort of reference things, and it came up with an update. So I'm trying to find the screens here. They've totally changed everything about.
Listen,
so
this movie speaks for itself.
It does.
It
Director
does.
John Watts, fantastic director. Who else could have pulled this off? Who knows?
Sam Raimi.
Stars could have. Tom Holland, Zendaya, Benedict Cumberbatch. By the way, Tobey Maguire's in there. Spoiler. Andrew Garfield's in there. Spoiler. Alfred Molina, he's in there as well, and the great Willem Dafoe as well. But there's a whole host of stars in there. Jamie Foxx as well. I only found out recently, before I hand it over to you guys to discuss this film, and obviously why it's in at number 10, Gianni. Your man, Ralph Fiennes, and I can't remember, is it Thomas Hayden something? I can't remember, the guy who played the Sandman.
Yeah.
They're not actually, they're not, yeah. They're not in this film. It's actually stock footage.
Was it?
I didn't know that.
I realised that.
That's why they were obviously
that.
in their present form, if you like. They weren't in their actual.
I found that out recently as well. I was also totally caught.
Oh, I was blown away.
You get so wrapped up in the movie.
Yeah,
you don't even really catch it.
But guys, listen, just come in when you want. Talk about the film. I think we've talked to Hein Legg.
I'm going to let Gianni talk about it because this is the whole point. I will come in and also bounce off you, Gianni, with this movie. This is one of the movies I have seen on the list. We were speaking about it off air before we came on. 2021 was a dark year for me for Western cinema. I was watching Korean cinema, South Indian cinema, lots of other regions. I seem to miss an entire calendar year of Western cinema. I've seen a lot of movies, but sadly not enough. And I am going to, that's my New Year resolution, get back up to watching 40-50 movies a year, because that's what I used to do when I wrote reviews. But Gianni, it is, I mean, Stephen, we used to watch an incredible amount of movies in a calendar year.
Well, John, it's funny you should say that, because we were talking to Bartek last year, one of Gianni's friends, and we actually made that admission, that it absolutely nearly killed us how many films we were watching, just because we wanted to keep the website fresh.
We were reviewing every second day.
Why number 10, Gianni? Why is this in at number 10?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I think if you had spoken to me, or if I had written the list like the day after seeing it, I probably would have been like, this is my number one, it's the best movie of all time. There was just something about that theater experience that was revelatory. And I know you guys talked about, because I watched your guys' spoiler review as well, and you guys said the same thing. And you guys actually saw it a day earlier than me, so I really hate you guys for that. But
that's a first. That's got to be a first ever. I've never heard of that in my life. We usually get it a week later.
I think, in terms of actual film, I think that this is the one movie, and it's always a Marvel movie lately, but this is the one movie of last year that you have to sort of forgive it all of its trespasses, because it's just so much fun. It creates its own genre of what film can be. There's it's not just an action adventure film, and it's certainly not just like a typical hero's journey. Now it's sort of cemented itself as this superhero genre is its very own thing. Yeah. It has its own way of sort of passing into your psyche and making you feel alive and uniquely tethered to the experience in a way that I don't think other genre films can really do, or at least not do as a. So I think that if I'm really calculating it out, and I write it in the review, the film is not perfect. There's certain things with the world building that I don't think ultimately make sense. We had already sort of. There's
some character decisions that don't really make sense as well. That when watching it, I seem to miss initially. Yeah. But then I watched other people, and I'm like, you're absolutely right. Why would he jump off that ledge at the end and not just stick around with his friends who are in that very next moment going to forget who he is? And why not hug them? And then when that awkwardness comes out, say, look, it's all right. Strange seismic event happened. You don't remember me. But I'll fill you in. We're really great friends. There was some issues. There was some issues, but I'll let you back in, Gianni. Sorry.
No. Yeah, but that's exactly it, right? It's. I don't know. At the end of the day, you can't help but just forgive it for the little nuances that actually don't work, the little ticks that in another movie maybe are not nearly as passable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for the high watermarks, I'm always a sucker for films that are more ambitious than safe. Like I don't know if you guys would agree, but like I like The Last Jedi more than The Force Awakens, for example, right? Because I thought The Force Awakens, I think, is a better movie. But it's a lot safer.
Yeah, I mean, it was 3 Star Wars movies in one of the original trilogy. It was like play it by numbers, play it to multiple generations of fans and make them all happy without ever really giving you a compelling story. At least, look, we've spoken about The Last Jedi many times on here. We do have our faults with it. But the one thing I've always says, and sorry I'm cutting over you again, Gianni, I've always says is, look, you can't criticise Rian Johnson's adventurousness, if that's even a word. He always tries to shake something up, do something different, and I felt for all its faults for me that I do have, he did give us a great, compelling moment with Luke and Leia, and on a visual level, the most visually accomplished Star Wars movie.
John, you've said
made.
it before. I know we're going off on a tangent. We did warn you guys we're going to do tangents in the community tab. We said we're going to do that. You did say that about J.J. Abrams kind of hung him out to dry. Hung Rian Johnson out to dry with that cliffhanger, not utilising Luke in the first movie and leaving him to sort of pick up the pieces. That's not Rian Johnson's fault. It's not his problem either. I think, if you gave Rian Johnson the trilogy, it would have been a smoother transition.
Been consistent
through the episodes,
Yeah. So I agree with you, Gianni. If you at least go out and try and do something different, adventurous, and it pays off. The rewards are what you're seeing with this movie.
Yeah,
huge money, number 1 at the box office just now.
Did you guys watch the interview yesterday with Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and Andrew Garfield?
I did.
Speaking about
it, I heard about it.
Yeah, I mean, they do make some good points, and it was something that I think we might have discussed with Sin when we did the review. John, was it, and it's something that you mentioned as well in your review, Gianni, when you talk about there's a lot of emphasis on relationships, and you do get that in here. There's also an emphasis on loss, death seems to be a big part of this movie as well. You get that sort of haunting reminder of Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker at the end of The Amazing Spider-Man, which I thought was handled perfectly. I don't think they beat us over the head. Sin had a couple of issues with the shot when he saved MJ. It didn't hang around enough. It was, but I think I've watched it a few times now, obviously on bootleg on YouTube, and I've seen it, and I think actually seen it now. I think they just did it right. I think the timing was right. You linger on too much. It's Tom Holland's Spider-Man film, to be honest with you. But, I think they handled those emotional moments correctly.
Right.
There was also a bit that I know a lot of people love. Was the sort of reunion with Tobey Maguire and Alfred Molina. Had that little conversation they had near the end was so perfect. It was so perfect, and paying homage to obviously those Sam Raimi films as well.
Gianni, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, because there was a moment in the interview where Andrew Garfield says what he liked about this movie, perhaps more than he seemed to enjoy it a lot. Obviously he was part of it, he's biased, but he liked the fact that they shook up the traditional Spider-Man origin story and perhaps gave us it in the 3rd act of Tom Holland's journey with the character, the death of Aunt May, and then also the impact that has on the character. That's something that's usually reserved for the first movie in a Spider-Man trilogy or set of movies. Is that something you enjoyed? Because it's certainly something that Andrew Garfield liked about this movie. He thought it was quite, he says, I think, and I'm paraphrasing, he get emotional watching it, because he's also, his journey with the character, he's seen what that impact of that event is on Tom Holland's Peter Parker. I don't know what your thoughts were on that and that element in the movie.
Yeah, I loved it as well. I'm a big criticism that I would levy against the other 2 movies in the Homecoming trilogy. Actually,
what are you, Gianni?
Was really that it was. You can see my whole inside poster here.
Yeah, I'll go to you. You can see it down there as well, because what I haven't done is I've not copied the actual logo down there. But we'll ignore that. It's Discord. What's and all. I'll sort that. in a moment, maybe.
But no, so the other two Homecoming movies, I felt like they're a little too. Someone actually said it perfectly. They called him Spider Boy, where it was like it's a little too hinging on Spider-Man as he exists to the MCU, not Spider-Man as he exists independent of the MCU. And a lot of that has him sort of uniquely tied to Iron Man and things that you don't typically associate as a fan of the comics with the Spider-Man character. And so what I loved about this movie was that it actually, and this is maybe weird, but it actually reminded me quite a bit of Casino Royale and Spyfall in what they did to the sort of franchise moving forward, which is they really just established that, no, actually, everything that we've seen up until this point was really just the stepping stones to get him to the character that you know.
Yeah.
So then you end the movie and he's sort of made his own sort of scrappy suit, and he swings out into the city as the sort of new Spider-Man, and now no one really knows Spider-Man because of the things that it cost him to grow to this point. And I love that because it's a way of really acknowledging the faults of those other Homecoming movies, but saying that they were purposeful, that they actually had meaning to get him to where he needed to be now. So it's one of my favorite things about the movie as well, I think.
He was quite immature. And he was a kid. We spent a lot of time in that sort of school area. And that, just him learning to be that superhero, as you says, his interactions with your Tony Starks, maybe using his suit, his technology as a crutch. So I liked that as well. At the end, the fact he does just, it's a regular suit, he goes out, he's a free man. Yeah. And he's been shaped by this tragedy and all these elements that have played up to that event. I liked that as well. I did. And
he's a free man, and he still chooses to be Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and that's the important part of it, right?
And foregoes friendship, perhaps.
He can go white forever, but he decides to still wear that suit.
Yeah,
and that's the key.
It was amazing.
And that's the making of the character.
Yeah,
that's what Spider-Man's all about. And I'm hoping if he does continue, and that is this character, he's going to be a borderline leader figure. Because he's a very powerful character. He was always my favourite character growing up in terms of Marvel. Also, I was a teenager, I was ripe for the Sam Raimi movies. So he's always been the one I've had a soft spot for. So I'm hoping that he does continue. But if not, I'm sure they'll pass the baton on to another great actor, a younger, perhaps, actor. But look.
Yeah, we're going to move on anyway to